Anna Marie. Hi, Anna Marie. How are you today? And as I said, we're going to be talking tonight about what makes a great father great in honor of Father's Day. Today is Father's Day in America, and so happy Father's Day to all the fathers all over the world and in America. Fathers around the world are challenged by being a great father because they have a tough act to follow. They have the greatest father in all the universe as their model. And I posted a short video as to what makes a great father great. Really only 3 qualities were in this short video because there are so many qualities that go into being a great dad and a great father. And I talked about being egoless and being all about your children and outward the way Hashem God is. And I spoke about infinite patience and never being derisive or talking down to your children. And then I spoke about how loving Hashem God is. He's so completely loving. He truly dazzles me with how many ways he can express his love and lifts my spirit. And so rather than talk more and more, I'm going to turn the floor over to you, Anna Marie. Sorry for the rough beginning of this program, but, you know, I'm just Lori Michelle trying to do something good here with you, and I'm not a broadcaster, so happy Father's Day.
Correct. You mentioned that the 3 qualities are, or the 3 key qualities are egolessness, infinite patience, and pure love. Wouldn't those be the exact same qualities that would make a good mother or a good teacher or a good coach? Why are you saying that that's specific to fatherhood?
It's not necessarily exclusive to fatherhood, but I brought those qualities up as a great father being great because those are great qualities that exemplify our Creator God Himself. And the reason I brought up egolessness was because men in particular, more so than women, have a challenge of dealing with the ego. It's inherent in their physical and spiritual makeup. They are conquerors. They are spiritual beings who want to control, and they desire success and material wealth. And many, many men around the world measure themselves by how much wealth they have, how many children they have, what do their children do. Not that women don't do those same things, but women's nature, which I did on the Mother's Day program, is much more inward, like Hashem God. In nature, it's not to say that women don't choose egotism as a way of being also, but men are more challenged by ego than women.
Okay, so it's more amazing when a father can choose egolessness, and because that is a quality from God the Father.
I would say maybe not that it's more amazing, but it requires more effort. It requires them to specifically know that that's a challenge of theirs, and they need to be conscious of this challenge. Hashem God has given men in Torah more requirements that tame his ego right from the beginning. Men have been ordered to pray 3 times a day to Hashem, to remember that Hashem is above them. Women do not have that same requirement. And it has a lot to do with their inherent nature to feel that they are king and they are in power and everybody answers to them. So it's a measure to control their ego, among other things.
Getting back to the 3 qualities, egolessness, infinite patience, and pure love, where does discipline fit into the picture in terms of the role of a great father?
Discipline? All human beings require discipline. Oh, are you talking about disciplining their children or being self-disciplined or both?
How about both?
Okay. Because I just, as I was answering, I was thinking in terms of self-discipline, controlling self-control, which is a very good quality for all human beings and a wonderful quality for a great father. A father who exercises self-control and self-discipline, meaning a father who does not engage in excessive alcohol consumption or smoking cigarettes or doing things that are unhealthy, exhibiting a life that is filled with self-discipline. But there's also another aspect of discipline where fathers need to discipline their children, and that is a sign of a very good father when they know how the difference between being a daddy and a father. In other words, if a child wants something, a daddy will cave in and say, okay, honey, you can have ABC. But a father knows when to say no, and no means no. And a father is rock solid. You can't make him budge.
In the United States, it seems like the role of fatherhood is moving closer to your ideal, with fathers maintaining much closer relationships with their children than in previous generations. Do you agree that fatherhood is evolving in a good direction right now?
He just said, no, it is not. And yes, no, it is not. The lines have been blurred. And the lines have not been blurred only by men of this world, but by women, unsuspectingly, deciding that in the 60s and 70s they would burn their bras and go to work and prove they were as good as men. So what we have now in 2017 are a lot of men who are stay-at-home dads, and like the movie, I don't know if you recall, there was Mr. Mom. Was it Mr. Mom? Yes.
Yeah,
and a lot of men aspire to be Mr. Mom, but it's not good for the family structure to blur those lines. You need a strong father figure and a strong mother figure, but when you upset the apple cart like that, children become confused and the whole family structure unravels and falls apart. So no, it hasn't been good for fatherhood.
But being Mr. Mom is definitely being egoless. So wouldn't that aspect of it at least be a positive?
It's not necessarily egoless, by the way. There are men who assume the role of Mr. Mom and usurp the mother and take over for her. And suddenly the mom is no longer a factor in the children's lives, and the children don't reach to their mother for loving comfort the way a mother desires. Her innate nature is to have a motherly relationship with her children. So it damages that natural bond between mother and child. So it's not necessarily a good thing that men are stepping into that role. It's very good to be close to your children as a father, but not as a mother. In other words, be close as a dad and a father, but you don't need to be their mother. Let their mother be their mother.
How do you square God's quality of infinite patience with the accounts in the Old Testament where he looks very impatient, like in Sodom and Gomorrah with Lot's wife and with the big flood?
Sodom and Gomorrah is not an indication of Hashem God being impatient whatsoever. If you read the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, and I have read it before, not recently, Hashem is infinitely patient. Hashem knows all of the outside and inside stories about each human being and what they bring to this world. So when he decreed to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, he knew fully well what he was doing, and he knew how egregiously evil the people of Sodom and Gomorrah were. So to say he was impatient is inaccurate. Hashem is infinitely patient, and he's so infinitely patient that he will current day, today, watch atrocities and evil take place where innocent people are dying because he's waiting for the correct and precise moment to exact his justice. And he's waiting, and it looks like he doesn't care, perhaps, or he's not on the job, or there could never be such a thing as God if terrorism and acts of terror occur, but that's simply not so. He knows exactly when and how to perform his justice.
One more Old Testament question. If God is pure love, how could he ask Abraham to kill his son?
If God is
pure love, how could, the third quality, pure love, how could he ask Abraham to kill his son?
The Akedah, that's the story of the Akedah. How could he ask? Everything that Hashem God does to us and for us is a test, and it's pressure on our soul for us to choose. And in every moment, we must choose between God and the opposite of God, the evil inclination, the Yetzirah. So all of the tests that he put Abraham through were a test of his soul. And he was testing and pressuring his soul. He never intended for Abraham to kill his son. He was testing him in that moment to see what Abraham's decision would be in that moment. And right at the moment when he was going to strike the child, an angel in the Torah interrupted and said, "Stop, do not strike that child." So it was a test. One of many.
Okay. All right, moving back to the present day. According to the 2010 U.S. Census, 1 in children live in households without fathers. Why are fathers important in children's lives, and isn't it enough if a child has a supportive extended family?
It's not enough. Nothing replaces the role of a strong and good father. However, gratefully, there are people who are raised in single-family parent homes where the mother has to assume both roles. It's tragic, and many children are raised successfully with extended family and strong moms. But it is not ideal, and it certainly does affect the psychology of the child. It affects them spiritually for the rest of their life. It can make them stronger. It's like everything in life. A negative occurrence can make us stronger, and we learn from it, or it can weaken us. And the fact that there are, as you said, 1 in 3 households that are without a father is tragic beyond words. And this goes back to the original premise of what I said makes a great father great. There are men out there impregnating women just because they believe getting a woman pregnant and having a child is a trophy. And there are men who play this little game of how many women they can impregnate, literally. There are men out there who have dozens of children by dozens of women, and they believe it's a sign of their virility and prowess as a man. Again, back to the ego. So obviously, that's not the sign of a good father, and planting a seed in a woman is not being a great father at all. It's a gift from Hashem God. So your question is, can't just we raise children without a father, and, is it a problem? It's a huge problem, because ideally there should be an entire family structure with a father and a mother with their separate roles and their relationships with our children.
You had a strong relationship with your father, and you have a close relationship with God the Father. Do you think it's easier to have a good relationship with God if you had a good relationship with your father?
Interesting question. Your relationship with God trumps all the relationships in your life. So having a good relationship and a strong belief in our Creator and God assists and helps you to have a good relationship in life with everyone, including your father and your mother. So the answer is yes. Does it mean that having a relationship with God makes you able to have a better relationship only with your father? No. It allows you to have a better relationship with everyone.
Okay. So it's the reverse of what I thought. The relationship with God comes first, and that allows the relationship with your father.
A relationship with God comes first. What did you think comes first?
I thought that if you had a good relationship with your father, it would help you have a relationship with God. But you said it's the opposite.
I don't know that having a good relationship with your father necessarily lends you to reach for God and have a good relationship with God. But a good father will teach you and guide you in the importance of reaching for God. So the importance of having a good relationship with your father is not so that you will believe in God. Your relationship with God allows you to have a better relationship with your father and honor your father, and a better understanding about the role of your father and what he means to your life.
How can fathers nurture children to become their best selves?
That's a great question. I suppose that would be the same answer of any parent towards their child. Specifically to a father can nurture their child by helping them find their own special interests and gifts and investing their time and energy to help them nurture and grow those gifts, and not project onto their children their own self-desires. There are a lot of fathers out there who are, for example, frustrated athletes or sports fanatics, so they will brainwash their kids that they have to be involved with sports. And maybe their child is a bookworm and is really not interested in sports. So, as I said in my short intro, ego has to be pushed aside, on a shelf, out of the picture. And instead of forcing your desires and your likes and your loves onto your child, nurture them and find what their gifts and their desires are and invest in those.
In your introduction video, you said that answering the question of what makes a great father great was a piece of cake, but that you barely scratched the surface. So now I would like to ask you to scratch the surface.
scratch the
What
surface.
additional qualities would you say make a great father? What more would you like to say about the 3 qualities that you named?
Well, egolessness and patience and love are 3 huge qualities. But let me explain a few more about Hashem God. He is wise, and he is short on words. In other words, he only uses the amount of words necessary to make his point. He's always spot on, and when he says something, he goes right to the heart of the matter, and it could be just with a picture or a funny line that makes you laugh, but he's all wise. He has a magical sense of humor. He can make you laugh when all you want to do is cry. These are qualities that I believe are exclusive to Hashem God, but there are many dads who are hilariously funny and have a way about them that they know how to lift their child's spirit. The other thing about Hashem is that he knows when you're down. He knows when you need to smile or you need encouragement. And a great father should be very in tune and see when their child is down and work to lift their spirits, not with necessarily things, purchasing a gift or anything like that, but a compliment, a hug, a walk down the street. Be very intuitive and be very aware of what your child needs and be there when they need you. Hashem is always there and he's all-knowing.
You mentioned hugs. That made me think, are there additional things that a great father can do that Hashem God cannot do? Like, for example, hugs or maybe listening?
Wow, that's true. One of the blessings that a person, a human being has that Hashem doesn't experience in this world is physicality. So in that respect, you have an increased blessing that Hashem God doesn't have himself. He literally could produce a body and show up in a body, but he does not incarnate the way human beings do. So that's another great quality that we can learn from Hashem. Hashem gives us more than he even has for himself. So a father is so supremely outward and generous to his children that he wants his child to have even more than he has experienced in his own life. Thanks for bringing that question up. That's awesome. I didn't even think of that.
Well, is there anything? So hugs are one, but listening. Can a real father listen better than God can listen, or are we just not aware of how God listens to us?
It's different. He said no. Hashem knows. Hashem knows your secret thoughts. You don't even have to say anything. He knows everything. Whereas a good father, a great father here in flesh, a human, needs to be a good listener. Hashem is a wonderful listener. When I speak to him, he's all attentive, and not one syllable that I say goes unnoticed. But he already knows what I'm going to say, but he never acts like it. He conceals that. He allows me to emote and talk. But a father that's a human doesn't know all my secret thoughts. He doesn't know what I'm going to say. So a father in flesh, a human, needs to be a magnificent listener.
Okay. And so that is something that a father can do that God really can't.
No, he can. When you pray, Hashem listens. But what I'm saying is, Hashem has an ability to know everything. But it's still, just because you know something, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be a great listener too. There are times my children will come to me and I already know the problem and the situation, but they still need to let it out. So I listen. And I listen to every syllable, and I'm very attentive, and I make eye contact, and I'm very aware, and I allow them to speak. I've seen situations, and I've been in situations where people shut other people down. Don't go there. I don't want to talk about that now. It's a feeling of constriction when someone says that to you and you're very upset and you want to talk about something and they shut you down and say, not now. I don't want to hear about this. This is not important. Never do that to your children. You really should never do that to any person. Hashem never does that. Did I answer?
Okay, yeah, you did. This is my final question. How can someone improve their fatherhood skills?
Look to God. Reach for God. Learn about the ways of God, because that's what we're here to do. We're here as human beings to bring godliness into this world. And God has given us a playbook of how to be good parents, how to be good spouses, how to be good. And we should be following his playbook. His playbook was given to us as a gift to us. He doesn't need us to follow his rules. Those rules were designed for us to lead a blessed life. So if you want to be a great father, reach for God, reach for his rules, learn about his rules, follow his rules, and teach your children the same. Give them a gift of a great relationship and a belief in our Creator that will last a lifetime. I guess this is the end of the program, and so I will wrap up and say, Happy Father's Day. You have a tough act to follow, but you're not really trying to be God, God forbid. You're trying to emulate God, the greatest Father in all of creation. I wish you a blessed and happy Father's Day, and I hope that we experience peace in our world and our time. You can go to my website, lauriemichelle.net. If you would like to schedule a private meeting with me, I can help you. All meetings are private. I can help discuss all of your issues and help you lead a more God-driven and connected life. I wish you peace on earth. God bless you. See you next time. God bless you.